So everything in your life is going how you want it to be,
Mm-hmm.
and you're being successful, and you have a great fiance, right? Snap your fingers, it all changes, and you wake up from a coma. You haven't been present for 7 days, and the doctor tells you, hey, we had to take your leg to save your life. Like, how would that change your life?
Welcome to the Lasting Business Solutions Podcast, Indy's launchpad to sustained business success, growth, and leadership. My name's Renee Lucas. I am your host, and I'm really excited to be here today to talk about mindset. I've got a very special guest with me today, Brody Dell, who's going to share his journey and how he kept a strong mindset throughout. Brody is so special that this is part 1, and he will be joining us on part 2, an episode following on networking. Brody, I'm going to give you a little introduction here, but welcome.
Awesome. Thank you.
So
Glad
good to
be
have you here.
Yep.
So Brody Dell is the Chief Sales and Chief Marketing Officer at EcoBak Restoration. You've been there almost 4 years.
Yep. Going 4 years, yep.
So prior to that, Brody attended Hanover College, where he graduated from the Business Scholars Program with a communications degree.
Yep.
While there, Brody was president of the Student Athletic Advisory Board and played college football, where he was not only team captain, but also won a conference championship. He was a proud recipient of the Bill Griffin Mental Attitude Award, which is so fitting for what we're talking about today with mindset.
Yep.
Again, welcome. I'm so excited to have you on today.
Absolutely. Thrilled to be here.
Well, Brody, tell us a little bit about the Mental Attitude Award.
Yep.
I mean, so you're captain of the football team. You're there at Hanover. What do you think were the characteristics and traits that you demonstrated to be not only nominated for that award but to receive it?
I think I kind of earned it throughout my career there, right? So as a sophomore, I started all 10 games, right? And then junior year, my work ethic wasn't matching what I wanted to get out of my college career, right? And I actually got benched for a small portion of time. And at that time, that was the most adversity I had faced, right? You know, I was really frustrated. And a lot of people would transfer or, quit and stop playing, right? And I just started working a lot harder, let it fuel me, right? And then I looked back on it, and I ended up being starter again as a senior, right? First team all conference, and we went and won a conference championship. So taking a self-reflection a little bit and saying, like, having accountability with your coach and saying, I'm not doing my best, right? And then really focusing on what I needed to do to make changes, to make improvements, and not falling victim or like moving out of things.
Yeah. That's what I love about sports so much is you either perform or you're benched. There's no in between. It's not like you're a good person and I really like you, so I'm going to make 52 exceptions for you.
Yep.
You perform or you're benched, right? When you got to that T in the road, and I always think of that, you hit a T in the road where you can either quit, get mad, give up, whatever, or you can really look and hold yourself accountable and say, man, what kinds of things when you say that your work ethic wasn't matching what you wanted? What do you mean by that?
Just like obviously when we go to practice, I'm practicing just as hard as anybody, but like where you really make the growth and differences in the off season, right? Maximize. Am I getting in the gym 4 times a week?
Mm-hmm.
Am I leading off the field? Am I doing the right nutrition I need to do, right? Like Taco Bell every Saturday night at 3 in the morning.
I mean, you were 19, 20, right?
That's probably not the best for you to be a good athlete, right?
Right.
So just really taking, like, not just being the team captain and a leader during the season, taking that to off-season stuff and kind of setting the standard for, work ethic and things outside of just on the practice field, right?
That's really where self-discipline comes into play, right? Because during practice season, during the season, you have scheduled times you need to be at. It's on your calendar. I got to be there. Outside of that, it's up to you.
Yeah.
And I love that you had the awareness. And maybe it was being benched that gave you the awareness of, this is not what I want. I don't want to be a C player. I don't want to get 2 minutes of time on the field when we're 40 points ahead, and you know what I mean? Like, this is what I want to be. I want to be an A player. Were you team captain at that time?
No, I wasn't going into junior year. No,
okay.
I wasn't. So, it was kind of a wake up call for me, and I would be lying if I said there were some days I didn't go to practice a little mad, like I had something to prove, right? But you got to find what motivates you, right? Sometimes being positive in every situation is the best thing for you.
Sure.
And then sometimes it probably wouldn't hurt to go in a little mad, right? It gives you a little extra edge.
Absolutely.
Especially in football, right? If like you probably shouldn't just go into work mad. You should have a positive attitude in that environment.
Yeah.
But
I mean, we'd all be lying if we
Yeah.
said we didn't, right?
Exactly.
If we didn't go in
Yeah.
with some sort of fuel or like, I'm going to prove this and I'm
Yep.
mad behind it. And so I think that emotion is a very powerful one.
Yep.
If it's used correctly and if
Yep.
it's not used, well, I don't want to say in the
Just
right
don't
way or
live
wrong
in
way,
it.
right?
Yeah.
Don't live in it.
Yeah,
That's
just
a really good.
Just can't live angry.
Yeah, I think we're going to probably hit on that a little bit more too as we go, where we don't want to live, where we might find ourselves, but we don't want to live.
Yep.
So you graduate, and congratulations! What an incredible award, finishing team captain. You've definitely finished on a high up there. So
Yep.
congratulations on
Thanks.
that. So you moved back up to Indy,
Yep.
right? Okay.
Wisconsin.
Oh, Wisconsin.
Yeah.
So you went to Wisconsin first.
Yep.
I didn't know
Small
that.
Sten, Wisconsin.
Tell me about that.
So first 2 years of my career, actually, I went up and coached college football in
I
Wisconsin.
did not know this about you.
So
That's fun.
was coaching college football, dream job, right? Just impacting young men, making them better, right?
Mm-hmm.
Helping them work hard and developing the men. And just after 2 years stint with that, my now fiance, girlfriend, graduated from Purdue, got a really good job here in Indianapolis at a company called Eli Lilly. They do
I've
pretty
heard
well.
of that. Yeah. I've heard
So
of that.
I had
Sorry.
to hang up the cleats on my $16K salary coaching job,
Right.
and we moved home, right?
Yeah.
And I found myself back here in Indy because I'm from Tipton, Indiana, so I came back closer to home. So
Okay.
it all worked out, though.
Yeah.
So,
Well, this is how we met.
Yes,
so
exactly.
I'm glad to have you back here.
Yep.
So you were with EcoBak Restoration, and
Yep.
I know they're a fantastic company doing remediation
Yep.
in homes. And so think fire damage, flood damage,
Yep.
water damage after storms, hail, something leaks, all the good
Yes.
things, right?
All the fun stuff.
And we met networking.
Yep.
And I always love that. And we're going to talk about networking. I feel like we
Yeah.
have such similar strategies with networking.
100%. Yep.
And so we just kind of clicked right off the bat, right?
Yep.
So fast forward a little bit. You've been with EcoBak. From what I've seen, I didn't know you in your Hanover days, but the work ethic and the discipline that you have now,
Yep.
I would imagine has just carried through from there because that's how I
Absolutely.
know you.
Yep.
And especially at your age, but not that we need to talk about age. I always talk
Yeah.
about like we as in like
It's
we're
just
the
a
same
number.
age. It is just a number, but I mean I'm 20 years older than you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So but I think you have a maturity level that is not often seen in your age group. You know what
Thank
I
you,
mean?
yeah.
So
Yep.
huge compliment to you on that.
Thank you, yeah.
So coming back to EcoBak, tell us a little bit about your drive, your work ethic, where you started there, where you
Yep.
are. We're going to go pre-journey
Yep.
that we're going to discuss a little
Okay.
bit more today, okay?
Yeah, so starting out, I was actually planning to be a financial advisor. One of my worst things about me as a college student was I did not study. I did not like studying. Just raw brain power is what got me my piece of paper, that at the end of the day.
Little natural ability there.
Yeah. So I was trying to be a financial advisor. I ended up not making the test. I didn't pass the SIE by 1%. I had $6 in my bank account. So my
Wow.
good friend had been bugging me about
Yeah.
running his sales and marketing. And I said, you know what, Rick, I got $6. I'll be there Monday, right? So me and Rick have a joke about we get good employees by sheer desperation, but that's for that. But so starting out EcoBak, it was just Rick and his brother, and we kind of did a handshake deal, like, hey, $15 an hour, everyone's work hard, we'll all in it together.
Yep.
In our first year, they had brought in, before I got there, they had brought in about $188,000. And I was our only sales and marketing guy. Our first full year that I was there, we ended up doing $1.1 million.
Oh, wow. Big jump.
Which was really awesome,
Yeah.
right? And now, today, as we've moved, 3 years down the road,
Yeah.
we are a $1.9 million company. We have 12 employees. And
Congratulations.
when it comes to sales and marketing, what I learned was, that communication degree and, going to coach college, I did so much recruiting, right, for college football. Recruiting is really just selling the university and the football program.
Right.
So I looked back on all my experiences from college and talking in front of rooms and trying to get people to come, to the program or join. I was like, man, I learned how to talk in front of a room and I had to sell it, the experience, right? So now
With
it's
that
just
communications degree.
it's just the same thing.
Yeah.
Right. So
It's interesting because we're both in tough trades, right? Talk
Yep.
remediation, like the people that are working for EcoBak, they're in water and sludge and mud and probably sewage sometimes
Yep.
and, smoke and everything else. Like,
Yeah.
it's tough. It's not everybody's, dream job.
No, absolutely.
Same thing with HVAC. The trend is like, let's work from home. Well, everybody doesn't get to work from home. And so recruiting and retaining really good quality people with good values and a good work ethic, it's tough.
Yeah,
It's really,
definitely.
really tough.
Yeah.
So I commend you on that, and especially for the growth that you guys have had in such a short period of time.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
Joining a startup business is on a handshake deal because knowing, most as an owner, Travis and I knew when we started our business, we don't have any customers, we don't have any work. How are we going to pay ourselves? We're just not. And so you figure out we'll just get by until we get it going. That's really hard when you're not an owner of the company to be willing to take that risk. And just go. I mean, it's kudos to you.
Yeah. Well, when you're going into business with one of your best friends, and
there's a trust there.
Yeah, and at the time I was 24, 25, I didn't have as many expenses as I have now. So at the time that was, I had my car paid
off. You were living on $6.
Yeah,
so
it was
15
great.
is you've almost tripled your money.
I just needed a small paycheck to, get by. But, now we have a lot more expenses and bills.
Welcome to business, right?
Yeah, welcome to
business, yes. So let's talk a little bit about, as we get into the heavier part of mindset here, right?
Yep.
You had a pretty big accident that changed your life.
Absolutely.
I think that's very
simple
way to say that, yes. But talk to us a little bit about the accident.
Yeah, so going into 2023, so April of 2023, I was headed to a meeting with an insurance agent from BNI, which we'll probably talk about later.
For work.
Yes, for work. So I'm going to a work meeting, talk with an insurance agent. Those are our target market clients. So, and on the way, we were headed on 96th Street, and I ended up getting into a head-to-head car wreck where both vehicles were traveling 50 miles an hour. When you go to the hospital, nurses and doctors will say, hey, 10 and 10 miles an hour head-to-head is considered life-threatening, and you should consider someone coming in critical condition. So to say I'm here today is less than a blessing. I had over 75 injuries, was in a coma for 7 days, and my first surgery was 13 hours long. And they said, to save my life, they're going to have to take my leg, my right leg. So a lot of adversity. The Lord blessed me with a great body to be able to endure something like that. Because the other 99 people that wrecks happened to, and those injuries, they're no longer with us today. We were in the hospital about 30 days. Should have been in there 3 months. Body healed extremely quickly. Had 9 surgeries, and then after a week or so of rehab, I went home. Was blessed to have a mother that's a physical therapist. She's the best. So that definitely helped. If your mom's not a physical therapist, you probably wouldn't have it as easy.
Right.
As me.
I'm not sure I'd use the word easy, but okay. Perspective, yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, it's been a long journey, and looking back, you just have to look. There's so many things I could look at. The alternatives for everyone that's been in my scenario, and when you zoom out and you say hey, I can't go play basketball with my buddies, I can't play flag football, right? But you're still alive and you can go do everything else in your life. It's way better than not being here today, which is the other result, really.
At what point, when you came out of the coma and you were in the hospital, at what point did you realize, did you know where you were? Did you remember anything? At what point did you realize that you were in really bad shape?
Yeah, so I woke up and I was on all kinds of fun drugs, so not fully there, but, they're having the conversation with you hey, you were in a bad accident. Here's your injuries. Here's what's been going on. You haven't been with us for 7 days, right? So you're taking all that in while not fully there, right? So It's just a whole whirlwind. And, I can't tell you when you just heard everything, it put it in real perspective. I never even felt like a mega I'm super bummed out. It was more of such a overwhelming sense of gratitude and when you really looked at it, it was such a miracle that you're even here. It's it was hard to really, there's been days where it's been hard, right?
Oh.
For sure. So I think one of the things that really helped me have a positive mindset, and when I look back on stuff is I didn't really allow, sadness or depression or really anything like doubt to creep in and get a foothold in my life. And I think one of the biggest ways I did that is I didn't give myself time alone, to sit there in my own thoughts and, look at the ceiling and think, wow, poor me. Like, what am I going to do?
Mm-hmm.
I lost my hobbies, right? And how I did that was just having people around me all the time, right? So whether that was my best friends, my mom, my dad,
Sure.
my fiance, I just always stayed engaged. And one of the biggest things is like talking when these feelings come up, right? You don't hide them. You don't just push them
No matter
away.
who's in the room?
Yeah, well, you don't spill your heart to everybody, maybe per se, but the people you love and trust, right? And you share some of those things with them, right? And kind of you let them out, right? You don't want to hold them off and hide them, and just a lot of men have the tendency to
it's an
not
ego
show
thing
feelings,
too, right? Yeah. And I think a lot too, depending on how you're raised and all that stuff, kind of can come into play. Let me ask you this: I really like what you said about not letting some of those the grief and the sadness and the woe is me sort of thing like take a foothold with you. But how then did you process through? Because some of those feelings, the sadness is part of grief, right? So how did you work through that and let yourself feel those emotions without letting them take a foothold?
Yeah, so I think, and usually it would probably be about once a week. I did a real good job of not dwelling on the negative and really like sitting in self-pity or, sadness. And I would usually give myself about one day a week where I would really like either call one of my best friends, talk to my fiance, right?
Mm-hmm.
Talk to a parent, someone that really cares about me is in my corner, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And I would share those, share if I was having a struggle or if I had some certain thoughts. Because if you sit and dwell on those things every day, like you try to feel let your sadness out every day, it's going to bring you down. So really for me, it was not even giving it an opportunity to sprout, right? And then sometime in my week, whether it was Monday morning, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, giving myself an opportunity that if I had certain feelings for that week or I needed to talk to somebody, I had that chance to vent out instead of, maybe venting every day or, letting it be a part of my life every day. You
really built a structure.
Yeah, it was appointment time for it.
Yeah. Were you, I'm going to ask you a question about your injuries and the recovery. Were you a decision maker with your leg, with losing your leg, or was your leg amputated before you came out of the coma?
Yeah, so that was actually a really hard decision that my mother had to make.
Okay.
Because I was in a coma for 7 days. And they had to make that decision like in the 11th hour of surgery.
Really
so
early
the first
on then.
Day, yeah.
Okay.
So,
okay.
And then, so I didn't really have any say with that. And, my mom had to make that tough decision, and I love her for it. Obviously, it's an easy decision for a mom if it's
your life or
your leg or life, right? So,
it's a no-brainer.
But still to this day, that I think that's a hard decision for her, right? But, I'm thankful I didn't have to make that decision.
Mm-hmm.
I think that would be really tough, especially with my athletics background. Like at that time, my life and my identity was like the
Football.
athlete.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
So that would have been very, very hard for me. But I'm kind of blessed in that way that, the coma kind of was this separating time for me, right? I don't remember anything from it.
Sure.
The wreck, I don't remember 6 days in the hospital. Like I woke up a couple times here and there, which was funny. There was I want to do a little sidebar here.
Go. Yeah.
So day 4, I'm waking up, right? Just briefly. I was probably awake 45 seconds in the coma, right?
Yeah.
And you don't have water in your coma, obviously. So my body's beyond dehydrated. And I'm doing hand signals, trying to tell the nurse,
I'm thirsty.
Give me pen and paper so I can tell you I'm doing this. They're not getting that. I want water. And the nurse is
I wonder if your emotions were as exaggerated as you thought they
probably
were.
Not.
Probably not.
Probably not. But the nurse is oh, this happens all the time with people. He's just delusional. He'll fall asleep. And a minute.
Yeah.
And in my head, I'm in this coma. I have this life tube in me. I have 24 tubes in me. I have 420 staples. I'm sitting there.
Gosh.
I'm like, no, lady, I want some water, right?
You need some water.
But then I fall asleep back in my coma for another 3 days. So it's she was kind of right.
Yeah.
But in that 20 seconds, it was this lady has the audacity to tell me I don't know what I'm talking about right now.
That you don't need water.
Yeah, I'm like,
I
I'm
haven't
a
had
human.
water for how many days?
I haven't had water in 5 days, okay? I think that's important, but yeah.
Oh, man. That's
Total
funny
side
that you
tangent,
remember that,
yeah.
too, though, like those little things.
Yeah.
I would imagine that some people might find themselves in a position, if they were in a similar situation, where they might have resentment for the person who had to make that decision, right?
Yeah.
And so, I love that you are leading with gratitude. So much of what you said is leading with gratitude. It can get, even at first, I'm grateful that I lived, sort of thing. But then the recovery is not an easy one, right? Physically, I cannot even fathom the pain, the life adjustments that you've had in your home, not being able to drive a vehicle, right? I mean, there's just so many things that I wouldn't even have thought of until I saw you go through it, right? Yeah. And so how do you not let the resentment come in later? Yeah. You know what I mean? Even if it's a month later, a year later.
Yeah. Well, it's really about who you surround yourself with, right?
Yeah.
And a lot of people say, like, the 5 people you surround yourself, like in business, right?
Yeah.
That's reflects how successful you be. It's the same thing with, like, having a good attitude and being uplifting and not being negative. 5 negative people are in your life. Ooh, you're in trouble.
Yeah.
I'm never around someone who's just really negative all the time. It just never really makes sense.
It doesn't serve.
Yeah.
And I know I feel the same way. I feel like it doesn't serve me. And if I get to a point where I'm like, I don't know why we're in each other's lives, then it's probably just time to separate that,
probably
right?
not for the best.
Yeah, it probably isn't. So let's think about your recovery, okay? And so the recovery is a long one. I would imagine, and I could be completely off base, and you can tell me if I am, that there's still things today that you are working through or recovering from or changing. I mean, even getting dressed has to be a completely different process than what it used to be, right? Yeah. And so how have you been able to... One thing so I'm going to go on a sidebar really quick. I remember we saw you pretty quickly after you woke up, and it was shocking to see so many staples in a human body. I think your body was like split in half and then put back together is what it looked like. But you had work on your mind. Like, you know what I mean? There was things that you were talking about, like these certain sales calls you wanted to talk to Ricky about. And I remember that and was like, oh my gosh, you still have like... It's just that drive, and maybe it was a great distraction. I know for me, I use work as a distraction a lot. Healthy or not healthy, it serves me, and so it's fine. But, how do you think you were able to keep that drive and that work ethic that you had?
Yeah, I think really it's a culmination of your life experiences, right? Now, if I went through adversity in sports or other things in life and I developed habits of quitting, right, I think that would have bled into the situation and I would have quit. I would have got sad. Oh, this is too hard. Yeah. Right. And I think as you live your life, you want to keep building up momentum of overcoming adversity and not quitting things, right? And I think that'll prepare you for, when you take on challenges in your life. But yeah, like little things like throughout the day that are just totally different. Like it's stuff you don't even think about, like that really bug me. Like, yeah, there's things like I can't go run a mile today. Like, sure. I'll get a running blade and I will do that here soon. You watch. But
I'm going to hold you accountable to that.
100%.
Okay.
But it's really like the little things, like you said in the morning, like I wear pants like 5 times a year now. And you know why? Because getting it on this artificial leg and then like say I need to make an adjustment to my leg throughout the day.
Oh, then you have to
I have to literally take my pants off. Yeah, it's
yeah.
And it's just a little tedious thing, but
but it's annoying.
100%.
Yeah, because if you need to do something like that and you've got 5 minutes to do it but you need 20, it's annoying.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then people think no one even thinks about this. You like kick off your shoes at night, like you'll your right foot, you'll kick off the left shoe. Yeah. The amount of times I've went to
you
kick
can't do
off.
That anymore. Yeah.
I've went to kick off my shoe, and I can't do that.
Yeah, you gotta use your hands.
Or I'm like going around the living room, like looking for something to like rake my shoe off.
The end of the couch to try to like pull your shoe off.
I'm using the wall to pull my shoe off.
Yeah.
Just little things like that. And those are the ones that are frustrating. Just like I go to try to get in my crawl space, which I know most people don't do. That's probably not normal. But yeah, the one-legged guy tries to get in a crawl space. Just like the little twisting and getting your knee, like the restrictive, I can't really do it.
Have you ever gotten stuck?
No, I'm blessed to be kind of an athlete. So
Right, yeah.
I've hopped out of crawl spaces one night. Crawl space
Whenever,
travel's
yeah.
actually been better, for me now.
Really?
Yeah, because, as motor remediation company, obviously I
Yeah.
used to be in a ton of crawl spaces,
Yeah,
right? And you'd like crawl around, right? And now I can't really crawl because I don't have 2 knees, right? So I just kind of sit down and just roll. And honestly, it's like 5 times faster. So my crawl space maneuverability has improved.
So, when we think about business owners, we think about small
Yep.
business. We're both so passionate about it. I love it. Everybody finds themselves in a place where they could go down a black hole,
Yep.
right? And it doesn't have to be something as traumatic as your accident that
Yeah.
we're talking about.
Yeah.
I know for me, if I have a really bad day or if something didn't go my way, I give myself a day. I give myself a day to be pissed off about it, to vent about it, to pout about it,
Yep.
to cry about it, whatever I want. But then that next
Yeah.
day, I'm done and it's game on for
Yep.
moving forward, right?
Yep.
And what you said earlier about really structuring the structure that you built around,
Yeah.
I'm going to give myself once a week to feel the sadness, to feel this, to process through that. And then I'm
Yep.
moving on. I'm looking ahead. I'm keeping gratitude in front of me. I love
Yep.
that. And I think business owners could really take away
Yeah.
that mindset. It's very deliberate.
Yeah.
Brody, do you feel like there's been any coping skills that you really had to kind of bring back into your life, or maybe that you've learned along the way that has even not only helped you get through the accident and the recovery, but has helped you in business or in other areas of your life?
Yeah. So I look back on my athletic career, right?
Mhm.
And something one of my coaches always said is, right, the 24-hour rule, right? And it's kind of like what we talked about earlier with the giving yourself a day, right?
Yep.
So whether it's business highs, business lows, like celebrate for 24 hours,
Yep.
be mad disappointed. We need to change things for 24 hours, right? But don't dwell and live on it, because you do the happiness side, the success side, right? Oh, well, I've made it. You get comfortable. You relax.
Complacent.
Right? Complacent.
Yep.
That sets in if you do that too much. And then the other side, the negative side, you can, if you live in that too many times, right, you put yourself in bad places.
You know what? I love that you mentioned something. To also give yourself 24 hours to celebrate. So
Yep.
many times, and this is in business too, we make really great progress. So think about over the past almost 4 years,
Yep.
where you guys started and where you guys are now. It's hard, right? And there's days where you feel like you're like barely making it through the trenches, right? If we don't celebrate those wins along the way, it can get
Absolutely.
really defeating, and that tunnel can get really narrow, and the
Yep.
light is further and further and further away, right?
Yeah.
But celebrating those wins, I love that. Give yourself 24 hours to celebrate too. I think as business owners, we forget that.
Yeah. This just came to my mind again.
Yeah.
And this was crucial to my recovery. And it was in a phase we talked earlier about, like recovering from, all the rehab and all the other stuff, keeping a positive mindset.
Mm-hmm.
I noticed, so you do need a mix of things in your life. I noticed, like, there for the 3 months out, I was in like this echo chamber, and it really got me in almost a bad mental space there for a little bit, because it was like I had everyone in the world telling me, hey, it's okay, you need to rest, you shouldn't be doing that, you need to heal, like pumping me up, you're so great, like I can't believe you're handling this so well, just so many nonstop positive things, right?
Yep.
And it put me in this space of it was so hard to drag myself out of this, because when you don't work for 3 months, like, you're complacent, you get comfortable, everyone's telling you you're great, you need to rest, you need to heal.
Yeah.
But there is a side factor of you do need someone that's hard and accountable in your life, a best friend, whoever, a dad, whoever it is, a brother. You need the one person that says, like, no, you can do more. No, you need to get back up. No, like, why aren't you working hard? Hey, this isn't anything. You need to pop back on your feet, right? Like,
right.
you
To
can't
push you again.
You can't have all of the same, like, you can't live fully in the positive space. And that put me in a really tough spot for, like, probably 4 to 5 months, because, I was such a driven, hardworking person, always set the example, like team captain, right? And then I was in this space of where I was like, no, it's okay. And then you just see so many things, you let so many other things go, and you're not holding yourself to that standard, because it was like an echo chamber of, like, support and love and take it easy. You don't need to do anything, right? And sometimes, you needed a David Goggins video to pop up on your feed
Yeah.
and ask you if you were going to be a little punk today, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
Or you guys know what he says, but
Totally.
yeah.
I know. That's what Travis listens to him all the time.
Or even another good one for me was a guy named Jocko. He's an ex-army guy.
He's fantastic.
And, you know, I would think about how far I've came in my recovery, how I've done stuff, and then, you know, getting complacent, right? And then I'd watch his video that says, he'd be like, "You've made no progress," right? And like having some of that mixed with, you know, the positive, right?
Yeah.
Because you don't want to be all negative, you don't want to be positive, but you do need that. You need someone hard and accountable in your life.
That's a really good point, because I think from, you know, I'll just take myself coming in. People, their intention is to comfort you, right? And to make sure that you aren't overdoing it and to take care of you. What do you need right now? Well, everybody will take care of everything for you, right? It comes from a place of good intentions.
Absolutely.
But so many things come from a place of good intentions that eventually do make us complacent or make us not care or all of the things, right? And so I think that's a really, really great point. Take business, for example, and it's like, oh, you're doing so great, right? Well, maybe my goal is at a different level than where I'm at right now. It's not to do it. I am doing great. That's great, but it shouldn't
100%.
stop us in continuing to move forward and look forward and drive us.
Yeah, I have a point on that. And this happens with my physical health right now all the time. Like there's people, all kinds of people have all their own standards, right? And so I'll be places, and I'm like 25 pounds overweight, and I know I'm out of shape for where I should be, right?
Yeah.
But like I have so many people be like, I say that, and they're like, "Oh, you look great," right? But for me, it's like that's not my standard. I'm like, you have no clue. I'm like, I have 30 pounds of excess fat on my body right now.
Yeah.
Like you think I look great, but your standards, they need to be different than the general populations of society.
And
if you want to be
that's
successful
okay.
in business,
That's okay.
And like whether it's just for business or for life, like if everyone's telling you it's okay, you probably need to do a little more. Coming out of the accident, right? You know, I've really leaned into a lot of those things with even rehab. I mean, rehab's brutal. So I'm going to do rehab. My left knee has 4 tears. I don't have a right leg. My right wrist is broken. So I'm doing all these things rehab with basically one arm, right? I'm like, oh, how do I get in and out of a car? How do I get onto the toilet?
How do you get in and out of bed?
How do I do anything with one arm, right? And that was super hard and challenging. But because in my previous life, literally, I made myself do hard things, right? And I made myself being comfortable, being uncomfortable.
Yep.
It was
physically and
mentally. So it made the process after the wreck easier. But like, if you don't have those previous life experiences or go through stuff like that, if something traumatic happens, you can be in a really tough spot, So
I think going back to like this is where we started, is you get to that T in the road. Right? And which way am I going to go? Am I going to go the path of giving up and pouting and being the victim?
Yes.
Or am I going to go the route where this is hard and this is uncomfortable, but I'm going to do it and I'm going to push myself and I'm going to surround myself with the right people. If we really come back around, I think what people can really take away from this is surrounding yourself with the right people.
Absolutely.
Right? And one of the greatest tidbits I think you have is just gratitude.
Yep.
Lead with gratitude.
Yep.
It can always be worse, right?
Yes.
It can always be worse. And we're very, very grateful for what we do have. And just having the opportunity to be in a hard spot. Yep. I'm grateful to be a business owner, even on the days when it really sucks, right? And so I'm grateful to have the opportunity to make it better, right? To improve, that sort of thing.
And kind of just wrapping up, my thought of when you take on challenges and adversities in life, right? You can go down 2 roads, right? You can go down this sucks, right? Oh, this is super hard. I'm sad. And you can go this way.
It never works out for me.
Your life could go from here and never go up from your setback, right?
Yeah.
Or you can, what I've found and I did, right? I leaned into it, right? I'm a man of faith, so right, like I leaned into Jesus a little bit. I leaned into my friends and family, right? And then I said, how can I take this experience and have it positively impact other people, right? Like if I just went home, claimed disability, did nothing, was sad, right? That doesn't benefit anybody. But if I can go, and I joked around with friends and family, I felt like at the beginning, when I like brushed my teeth for the first time, you would have thought I ran a 100-mile marathon, like the support, right? But like the things you can do after adversity and how you have such a greater chance to impact people's lives, right? So even you just go do the most average, modest things, right? It's so inspiring to people. So I've really just leaned into it would be such a wasted opportunity, if I wasn't positive, if I wouldn't go trying to do great things. Like, it'd be like, I've had all this tough, hard things happen to me, and I did nothing with it.
Right.
Like, so.
And that definitely is going to lead us into our next episode where we talk about networking, which really starts from a place of giving to others, like you give before you receive. And so that's a great segue to that. I will say, too, like, looking at where you are today, if you had been stuck in the mindset of, I can never play football again, hung up on that sport, like right now, you play hockey on a sled.
Oh, yeah.
And it's really cool, right? But
That's a fun time.
To think about, like, that was never on your radar, right? And so that's
Didn't
one of those
even know it
things
existed.
Yeah. And so to think about, though, when we get trapped into that mindset of, I can't do this anymore, this will never be part of my life again, I can never have this again, it's really tough to see all the opportunities that are out there, all the fun that you can still have, the new skills, the new people you can meet.
100%. That's one of the best parts. So I like what you said there. Like, I lost all my hobbies, right? That was one of the hardest things, right? But it's opened up so many new experiences. I've met so many great people through those
really
things.
Cool. Yeah.
Right? Yeah, and I'd be lying if when my buddies say, hey, we're going on Saturday, we're all playing basketball. That kills me.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I joke around. That's like, I've never went into depression yet. Borderline, when my buddy says, hey, I'm going to play basketball.
That's it.
I'm
that's going to shove you over the edge.
Depressed.
Yes. Yeah.
No, but it's fun. But you just gotta find new hobbies, you meet new great people through experiences, and it's been awesome overall. So
Well, we are going to talk a lot more on our next episode with Brody about that giver's gain mentality, giving before receiving, networking, meeting with people, and just like we talked about that structure and strategy here with our emotions and things like that, there's a strategy to networking that we're going to talk about on our next episode. So Brody, thank you so much for joining me.
Awesome.
You truly are an inspiration to so many people. And I think, we don't want to take away anybody's hardship with not one tragedy over another. It's not about that, right? It's no matter what you're in.
Absolutely.
Here's how you, here's how you persevere.
Yeah.
Okay.
Awesome.
Well, thank you for joining us, and we'll see you next time on the Lasting Business Solutions podcast.